Good evening everybody, this is Lara with your daily video for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. They're all moving a little bit higher, but with a bit of a mixed bag. Bitcoin first, it's had an upward session with a higher high and a higher low, but the body of the candlestick is really small, not quite a doji. It's got a bit of a bearish upper wick. The bottom line for Bitcoin is it's having some trouble breaking above resistance at 48,000. I don't know if we're going to get another back test of 41,100 support. I will expect a break above 48,000 most likely sooner rather than later. What's so very obvious from this chart is Bitcoin is in an upward trend. There's a series of higher highs, there's a series of higher lows. There's your basic definition of an upward trend. Remember, the trend is your friend. Trying to go against the trend, you are to lose, so don't do that. Stay with the trend. The moving average situation is full bore bullish. If we can close above 48,000, preferably on a session with push from volume, then look out for a backtest of support before moving up and away potentially. Yesterday's upward session closed red, still pretty strong volume, not quite as strong as the previous green session, but it's really good to see some good volume and volatility returning to this market. ADX today is giving us a strong bullish signal for Bitcoin. The black ADX line now has a positive slope. It's above 15, but still at a relatively low level, and the positive DX line is above the negative DX line, so this tells us there is an upward trend in a relatively early stage for Bitcoin. It's not the strongest signal ADX can give, but it is still quite strong. This is, for Bitcoin, a pretty strong bullish signal. The trend is your friend. RSI is neutral. There is quite a long way to go before RSI reaches as overbought as it can get and then exhibits bearish divergence. I'm not going to consider bearish divergence from these points down to here. The peaks are a little bit too far apart and we haven't developed a good pivot yet. Remember, I like to wait for pivots in price and corresponding points in RSI before I consider looking at divergence between the corresponding points. That's a method to screen out some of the false divergence that can lead you astray. Money flow is also neutral, a long way to go before this becomes extreme as well. And ATR beautifully showing a really good increase in volatility. And remember, higher volatility means higher risk. My Elliott Wave count for Ethereum is still the same. It expects that it's in a third wave at minute degree, within a third wave at minor degree, within a third wave at intermediate, primary and cycle degree. So a third wave at 5 degrees, 3 of them rather large degrees in its relatively early stages. My targets are using an extreme Fibonacci ratio, which is appropriate for cryptocurrencies with their extreme volatility. Minute 3 will reach 11868 if it's 11.09, the length of minute 1. And the same ratio for minor 3 gives a target at 13325. Let's get some labels in for minute 3. Third waves, my only subdividers impulses. So I'm not going to label mini wet wave 1 within minute 3 over at this high. I want to subdivide this now. So mini wet 1 can subdivide either as an impulse or a leading diagonal. And I don't want to label sub mini wet wave 1 over here because I can see 1, 2, this looks like another 1, 2, and now we might have a 3 in here, maybe a 4, another 3, 4, 5. So I'll put those labels in. No, I want to put this here, and this wick is a second wave, it looks like, and then this upper wick, the end of a third wave, and this here, a fourth wave. So we could have micro 3 over here, and a fourth wave unfolding with a little bit of downward movement today. Might continue another day or so, but I would expect micro 4 is quite likely to be more brief than micro 2, which lasted 3 days. So micro 4 could be over in 1 day, maybe 2, and then micro 5 to move beyond the end of 3 to avoid a truncation, and that'll complete sub mini wet 1, I expect. I don't want to label mini wet wave 1 over yet. I think this storm might just be a first wave within it. A little bit of patience. If this is a big extending third wave, we need to give it a little bit of room to run at the beginning as well. So micro wave 4 may not move into wave 1 price territory, so for the very, very short term, an invalidation point would be at 2296.81, the high of the 4th of January. When sub-annuet 2 does arrive, it may not move beyond the start of 1 below 2092.33, and I will expect lower degree second wave corrections like sub-annuet 2 or eventually to come minuet 2 to find support at the lower edge of this base channel, which I drew for you yesterday around minute waves 1 and 2. The technical situation for Ethereum is pretty much the same. I expect support is extremely likely to hold now at 2,400. There's been a very clean break above it on an upward session with strong push from volume. Look for any back tests to find support now at 2,400. Along the way up, resistance, we might find a bit of a resistance zone from the triangle target at 3347 next resistance at 3580, but I'd give more weight to 3580 than I will to the triangle target. Yesterday's session completes as a shooting star. That's a bearish reversal pattern, but it's important to put candlestick patterns in context, so let's do that. Yesterday's session, the shooting star still had pretty strong volume, not as strong as the previous day, so a decline in range and volume, a little bit of a reaction, a bit of a pause after the previous day's strong movement. Oh, that's to be expected. Maybe it just expended a bit too much energy too quick there. For Ethereum, ADX is still giving us a really strong bullish signal. It tells us Ethereum is in a really early stage of an upward trend. This is extremely bullish. There is such a long way to go before this trend reaches extreme. RSI is just dipping into overbought, but this can reach deeply overbought and exhibit multiple bearish divergence before we have an interruption to the trend. Money flows in neutral territory, a long way to go before this is extreme. Really good to see ATR showing a good, strong, steady increase. So this reversal pattern might just be indicating a small pause and is quite unlikely to be indicating a full 180-degree reversal. It's important again to put it into context. I'm going to add some labels to my Elliott Wave count for XRP. We've got a little bit of an impulse unfolding. Minor Wave 3 may only subdivide as an impulse, and I don't want to label minute Wave 1 over. That's way too brief, so let's decompose that. Minute Wave 1 may be either an impulse or a leading diagonal, and an impulse is much more common, so more likely. I think it looks like it started out with a couple of overlapping first and second waves, maybe minuet and subminuet degrees. I'm going to tentatively put the label for subminuet 3 and 4 here. This could be right, but if it's wrong, then I have to move this up and decompose this and move it down 1 degree. But for now, I'm just going to leave this here. Subminuet 4 may not move into subminuet wave 1 price territory below 0.5821. It's not too far away from that, and the fourth waves for cryptos don't usually get that close. There's usually quite a big gap between the first and fourth wave price territories. So this doesn't quite look right, but I'll tentatively label it like that for now, and I might change that tomorrow. Either way, I expect an impulse may be unfolding for minuet wave 3. Technicals for XRP yesterday completed a doji. It's green, a higher low, so upward movement. But the doji represents a balance of bulls and bears, a little bit of indecision after a relatively strongish upward session, the previous session on 10th of January. Expect support now at 58 cents is likely to hold. If that were broken again, very strong support at 55 cents. I expect that is extremely likely to hold. I want to see a break above resistance at 0.75 on an upward session with push from volume to have a bit more confidence in the short to mid-term bullish outlook, and long-term actually, for XRP. Yesterday's doji has relatively decent volume, but volume for XRP on these couple of upward sessions was not nearly as good as Ethereum and Bitcoin. A little bit of a cause for concern there still. Balancing out that concern, there was a bullish signal from on-balance volume, quite a weak one. This break above the yellow resistance line has only 2 anchor points, and it's got a bit of a slope, and it's short held, so a pretty weak bullish signal from on-balance volume for the bullish case. ADX is declining. It is no longer telling us that XRP is in the early stages of a downward trend. There might have been a trend change. Like I said the other day, this is based on a 14-period average, so if there has been a trend change at this time frame, it's going to take at least 2 weeks. It'll be longer because the red candlesticks within, as we move on higher, any little pauses draw out the time it takes for ADX to turn around. Just think of it like a rather large, slow-moving ship that needs to turn around. That might be in the process of turning around now. RSI is neutral. If there has been a trend change and there is again an upward trend, there's a very long way to go before it's extreme. And money flow is neutral. And that's it from me with your analysis for those three. And if you've watched all the way through, thank you so much for your lovely comments about my accent. I'm not concerned about it, to be honest, and it's the only one I've got, and it's a bit late to change it now, but thank you very much for your kind comments. I'm actually slightly surprised that people watch my video all the way to the end and listen to this little bit. I just want to share with you, it's a really odd thing, this YouTube thing that I do. I sit here in a room on my own at the moment, in front of a computer with no one else around, just talking to my computer screen, and I'm completely detached from my audience. thousands of people are going to listen to what I'm saying, and yet I can't see you, and I only interact in comments, which I really enjoy. So it's a slightly dissociated experience. It's a little bit odd in a way. So if you ever see me out in public, come and say hi. It'll be lovely to meet subscribers every now and then. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support.